scratchy in British, apparently.
Okay.
Well, of course.
I sound great. Super. Bluetooth headset and all. All right.
Yeah, I was just going to
Yay.
say, I'm on my broadcast headset here. How do I sound scratchy, for Christ's sake? Never mind. Okay, and finally, Patch. Let's just do a little bit of
Hello.
homework.
Hi.
Yep.
Everybody should be able to hear me, right?
Right, yeah, I think so. Yeah, people are hearing us. Different people have different reactions. Like somebody thinks somebody's garbled and somebody. But anyway, we're working. That's the main thing. They can obviously alter voice levels in their own viewers if they need to. Right. Where are we? Oh, 3 minutes late, so we better get going. Okay, sorry we haven't got your seats, folks. Ebby, you better sort of turn round to face the audience if you would. And yeah, I will. I will have one of you, as it were, on either side of me, if probably is best. Okay. Yeah, James. Yeah, take it away. We're all on in well voice now, so we might as well just get going. Yeah. Oh, right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the first of this year's Above the Book presentations. On Saturday, I'll be here with Gentle Heron as we take a look back at the Thinker Award winners. But today, we're having our sort of annual look at what's happening at the lab, in other words, Linden Lab. And I've been joined by Patch Linden, who's the Linden more or less in charge of Second Life, I would think. And we're also joined by Ebbe Linden, who's CEO of Linden Lab itself, which means I can ask some slightly broader questions, I suspect. At least we were joined by Ebbe. He seems to have vanished again. Hopefully he's on voice anyway. Has he just, yes, he does seem to have vanished. Okay, well, we'll just carry on.
I did vanish.
Yeah.
I crashed.
Right.
When I turned around, and so I'm back now into probably the. Yeah, I'm falling.
Oh dear. Yeah, falling from.
I'm coming into VWBPE Draco General.
Right. Okay. Draco is the thing I want.
I'll see crashed again.
No, you didn't.
Oh dear. Maybe somebody in the audience. I noticed your colleagues.
Did you? Oh, no.
I went down.
Oh yes, you're back now. Anyway, okay. Well, at least we're on voice, so I will. I'll start chatting, and if we have disappearing avatars, so be it. Before we start looking at Second Life and education per se, there've been quite a few things going on at the lab recently, which I wanted to quickly ask about. Before we have the updates. And I think the main one there is that you've confirmed that Sansar has now been sold. Would you like to tell us a bit about that, how it came about, and anything about the people who've taken it over?
Well, that would be me, but since I'm not in Second Life just yet.
Oh, right. I see what you mean.
So save that question for when I'm
save it for later. Okay, let me move on to Patch. Sorry, sorry, audience. By the way, I was talking to Ebbe, thinking he was here, and
I crashed right away when I tried to go to your meeting space.
Right. The region where the stage is should be fairly lag free, but I'll have to link to somebody.
For some reason, my viewer just blows up when I enter.
Oh dear. Well, I can't really help you there. We'll keep trying. If you can. Oh yeah, you'd need to be here for the voice, wouldn't you? Okay. Let me. Hopefully one of the people backstage here, as it were, can try and help you with that. I will start talking to Patch because he's actually here.
Talk to Patch, and if I show up without crashing, I'll introduce myself when I get there.
Fine. Okay, folks. Well, this is almost a reboot. I'm going to be talking to Patch first because we can't really talk to Ebby effectively. Well, it's not here, can we? Moving to Second Life particularly and education, I think. You recently announced, is it $99 a month fixed a new rate for educators and non-profits? Is that right, Patch?
Yeah, so, with everything going on in the world today, I figured it was an opportune time to introduce, a reduced price point for the full regions and stuff. So that's what we did there.
Did that happen as a result of what you describe as currently going on in the world, or did it predate?
Yeah, I mean,
anyway?
it's something I had been pondering for a little while before, but it seemed like now was the time to do it, to help educators out as they're trying to find their footing and look at other solutions for their continuing education, classroom and virtual campus setups and stuff.
Well, for sure, I would think. I mean, it's not just education. I mean, education is related to everything else, really. But the current crisis, is bringing corporations, home office, sorry, not just home offices, but offices, including home workers, online in vast droves at the moment. I think that's maybe why Skype was playing up. It's not necessarily scaling, but are you, as the lab, doing any focusing of, shall we say, advertising or promotion based on that? I mean, obviously to educators you have done, but in terms of getting more people in and telling them how easy it is to, instead of buy a Linden home, say, get a plot and have an office and get all your office friends in, friends, or your colleagues in. Is there any idea in the promotional side of things, pitching that at people?
Yeah, for sure. We've created a microsite recently that caters to all kind of uses between educational and business case uses for Second Life. Brett actually just posted a link in the chat there that's particularly handy, and there's the microsite link itself that we're basically using that to help us coordinate and correspond the various uses for Second Life across all of those spectrums outwardly, and we've also been doing some advertising campaign work and stuff, and that is Brett's department for doing that stuff, and kind of going out there and just kind of trying to take a really kind of human approach to it.
Of course.
To say we're here and we're here to help, and this is what Second Life can be.
Right. For the benefit of our viewers who can't see this, the address you want is www.connect.secondlife, all one word there, .com. And that's you call it an outreach site, I guess, that just typed in. Right. Okay. Now, I mean, related to this too, I think there is the issue of scaling. In general, obviously people are already using Second Life, and some of its variants elsewhere are familiar with the platform and how it works and stuff like that. Have you got any plans? I mean, this is discussed so often over the years, but have you got any plans along that sort of quick and easy entry sort of idea, where I don't know, maybe able to jump in via a web page or something like that for the benefit of people who don't want the learning curve?
Yeah, so part of what we did, in fact, behind the work on this microsite, was we set up several, actually it's 7 turnkey solutions that are available for various use case scenarios, everything from large scale auditorium, 350 avatar capacity type venues on upwards of campuses and school type facilities, multi-purpose socialization spaces and stuff. If you drill down kind of on the microsite and stuff and look at some of the pages, especially around the Explore feature, they're all featured there, and they have little clips and stuff showing them in world video wise. It's really kind of gorgeous site that Brett and his team put together.
Oh, lovely. So are these when you talk about, I don't know, what did you say, 350 people or something, you're really talking some serious scaling there over and beyond. I don't know, what is the standard of on a standard region? It's about 50, 70, isn't it, maxing?
We on our builds, putting both efficiency at the forefront of what we've put together content-wise, along with the advances and such that we've had on the simulator side of things. Regions can comfortably run 75 avatars, consistently without having too much trouble.
The one thing that did occur to me, again, I may be way off center here, because of course I am aware that over time recently you've been moving a lot of the back end to it's the Amazon cloud, I think it is, into Amazon Web Services.
Yes.
And does the fact that you're on cloud servers now impact the idea of scaling? In other words, I don't know whether this is possible in Second Life, and even whether you know, but I know with some worlds there is a process known as sharding.
Yes.
For example, if you're on the Amazon cloud, could you bring up new servers as shards of a region in order to accommodate larger audiences, especially some big band or other wants to hold a rock concert here,
At the present, no. Those types of features and stuff are, if we look at doing that is further down the road. We're still in the process of moving a lot of our infrastructure over. We haven't moved enough of it over yet to say, we're running, like regions in the cloud. But as that stuff happens, and as the technology improves, as we continue down that path, those opportunities may avail themselves, and we'll explore them when they're ready.
Sure. I'm reading some of the text chat here, and I don't even understand half of it. I know AI Austin says, please no sharding. But somebody here, Lowry Mills says something about connecting to the canvas, and it would be perfect. Would she be referring to the HTML canvas? Or... Canvas is an LMS. Okay, I'm out of my depth here. I'm not a techie person, I'm afraid. Do you know any answer to that, Patch?
That's the various learning module systems and such, right?
Right.
That's, I believe, they're speaking of.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, where their coursework is. Yeah. So a lot of that stuff is also kind of dependent on being supported by the Chrome embedded framework and the HTML viewer or in-viewer browser capabilities and such. And there is actually ongoing work there to make improvements to that. And we'll probably see some stuff coming out about that soon, I hope.
Okay, that's good. Now, as I say, I've been really, it's basically the last 2 weeks when we've all been in lockdown here, there, and everywhere. The methodology of, I've already mentioned scaling and pushing SL and stuff as a solution. But there's been a huge uptake in things like Slack. I think Microsoft Teams had a go, but they crashed on the first day. So that's a bit like Skype, really, isn't it? But this other one, Zoom, which is an alternative to Skype and stuff. And oddly enough, not very few people have mentioned Discord, which is as it's been our solution here today for voice and back chat. Which is very potent. Do you see any way? I mean, this might be down to educating people via the Second Life website or whatever. Ways of integrating that kind of 2D web into Second Life. We obviously have media on the prim and things like that. For people who are maybe more used to, dare I say, PowerPoint or something, to say, well, here's a virtual world, you can inhabit it, you've got presence and empathy and everything else, and you can bring your PowerPoint in if you really want. It's really just telling these people, well, it is possible if you really want to bring the old world into the new one,
Yeah, for sure. So actually what I just mentioned probably also kind of has a lot to do with that. It will potentially give us more capability and stuff to be able to display that stuff, and that is like the media on a prim stuff, right?
Yeah.
Where you can display like web pages and stuff on fixed objects in Second Life, web pages included, but giving it more capability to be able to do something like, wouldn't it be something else if you just like live streamed Second Life into itself, like via YouTube or something? Is that like where you get that
Yes.
repeating mirror effect that goes into forever?
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah,
you
it
can
would.
do that actually, but it is, as you say, it goes on forever and doesn't make much sense.
Right, exactly. But it will introduce more capability like that. And if you let's say want to use like Google Slides is really popular too, kind of like PowerPoint. If it's web based, you definitely be able to get it in and put it up on a prim potentially, and it'll have a lot more capability now.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I've always liked in here and in OpenSim for that matter is, the artists or musicians as well who create their stages and things, and they use multiple instances of, they'll take, say, some kind of psychedelic visual in a loop, and they'll put it on a prim and another prim and another prim, and they'll shape the prim, and they'll basically create, a multi-prim, multi-mesh maybe structure where the surface is actually just distortions of the same thing. But I mean, it looks obviously amazing because it's not like having a screen here behind us while we're talking. It's like every rock, every component is sort of moving and psychedelic, man, really, isn't it? Okay, let's move on from this. Now, the other thing, we haven't got AB back yet, but I think you could probably address this, is my thing against screen versus VR. A lot of the take up of VR, this has been the case, I've been doing the news every week for a couple of years, and it's been the case, the gamers want their headsets, and
Right.
headsets are actually quite huge in commerce because scientists and engineers can use them as enhancement techniques. But quite frankly, people who sit around at home who are just ordinary users who aren't particularly into games but just want a like social virtual world, I think they're more likely to still come to somewhere Second Life, which it's not the world is 3D, but you can put it up on a 2D screen. Sure. Well, I know somebody makes a Second Life viewer that simulates the 3D for headsets. I know, but it's not designed for that, is it? And again, I'm slightly disappointed that in all the fuss about VR is the future, and that actually, I've seen headlines saying VR is the future of schools. VR is the future of education. All these people are referring to VR, the hardware solution, the haptics, and very few of them are sort of slowing down enough to realize that, well, hell, we've had 15, 20 years worth of virtual worlds, spaces on our screens already, which are a lot more advanced than, say, no offense intended, VR chat or alt space VR, where everything stops at the waist because it's all designed for people in headsets. Don't you really think worlds like Second Life really deserve a renaissance for what they are? Their capabilities, should I say, as immersive environments, places we can connect rather than requiring all this heavy duty hardware, which a lot of people, desperate or not, cannot get. They won't know how to use it, and it costs a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I have my own personal views and perspective on this. And I don't know how Abby, I'm sure, has his own too.
Yeah,
and
of course, yeah.
I personally I love VR headsets. I have 3 of them. I have all the top, the big ones. I have an HTC, I have an Oculus, and I have the PSVR, right? And because I just had to have them all, and I have a lot of fun with them and stuff. And using them is super engaging. It's very immersive. I actually can fondly remember back when we were very first trying to get Second Life to work with VR headsets. I was one of the very few people who could actually, I guess, tolerate it at that time because of its FPS. And not get motion sick. And we had actually created some game experiences and stuff, because that's what my team, does too, in Second Life, that would take you through like this kind of dark motion simulator ride in Second Life with a VR headset on. And I was fine. Other people couldn't, make it through it. But, a lot of stuff there, also technology, and the birth of all of that technology and stuff, back then was, just kind of getting off the ground. And as it's, progressed over time, it has gotten a lot better and things have improved. Second Life for VR, will still have some challenges it will have to, rise to and meet in order for it to probably be very successful, and or the level of hardware requirement will have to come down to meet it some too. And when I say that, I'm thinking like in terms of, like you mentioned, the very high cost to or the barrier to entry to get into a VR rig, right, and everything it takes to run that, versus the FPS that Second Life can run in. And somewhere, I think they'll meet in the middle, and they are getting closer. I really think that's the case. I don't think we're quite there yet, but we'll see. Maybe at some point down the road, it's something that we can kind of maybe try to crack the nut on again. But at the moment, it's nothing that I have on the roadmap. So.
I think a lot of people
current position on it.
Right. I think people, when they're it depends who they are, of course, but when they're putting on events, whether it's like this or an open simulator conference or whatever, try to some extent to look at all the options of mixing and matching, to make it more exciting and more compelling. I mean, a use case I saw recently was just a thing. I think it's may just been the Oculus, and I didn't go into it myself, but it's an app called Big Screen, which basically is like a cinema. It's really
yes.
It brings a big 2D screen to you in your helmet, your headset, rather, I should say, and but you share the viewing experience like a real life cinema with other avatars. But as a use case, you could actually put a stream from Second Life on the big screen in the VR, if you see what I mean. So you can actually take a VR audience who might be watching big screen and combine with a live audience that's actually in Second Life, which is being shown where the movie would be shown, if you see what I mean. And welcome back, Ebbe, I hope. Are we? Sorry, did you have thoughts on that, Patch? Or?
No luck.
Nope. Yeah, we were trying to get Ebbe in here.
Oh, right. Well, he's bouncing in front of me, so he hasn't got his voice on yet. But I think.
Yep, I don't think he made it. He crashed again.
I crashed.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, sorry. I get you. I'm hearing you on Skype, but not so fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. This is very confusing, folks, for those of us broadcasting, because we have the broadcast stream going out with high quality audio on Skype, and then we have in-world voice for you lot here, and you've got to remember that it's not like we're recording a show. We do actually need both to be working simultaneously. Okay, well, this is unfortunate. Hopefully, Abby will keep trying. Maybe we'll get it for 5 minutes near the end. Actually, we've got quite a lot of time left, so this is quite interesting. Do feel free, folks, to stick in. I'm actually monitoring chat as best I can. I'm not very good at this sort of stuff, but as we go along, so if you've got any things that you think Patch could actually answer about Second Life in particular, you could, let me see, put stuff in chat. Broadcasting and licensing issues, yep. Okay, Kaylee West has asked via YouTube actually what they're planning to do about shared media, which is still really, really limited. Well, you did hint at something about that, Patch, didn't you, earlier?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to give Ebbe guidance in the background too to see if we can get back in here. What was the question?
But somebody called Kaylee on the YouTube channel has actually wants to know about what they're planning to do about shared media, which is really, really limited, they think, at the moment. Screen sharing, desktop sharing, all the rest.
Yeah, screen sharing and desktop sharing, and if we're talking in the context of like within Second Life, that would be pretty challenging to do. Of course, you could use all sorts of applications to screen share Second Life itself out. Same thing with like broadcasting it to YouTube Live and stuff, as I'm sure we're all aware. And I don't know if I yet see a a path to getting something like inbuilt within Second Life that would allow like direct screen sharing within it. It's something we have thought about, though. It has come up.
There are a lot of ways of doing that. I mean, I've been known to take a live screen feed from the screen and put that into Skype. So, I can sit there as an avatar gabbing away, and all the folks on Skype, they don't see me, they just see an avatar. And the big thing we use on our weekly show, we use a program called Screenly, which allows James here to monitor my desktop at the same time as my avatar's broadcasting. So we got a little inset window. So while I'm talking about all the latest links, he can show a little inset window with the actual web page that I'm talking about, and of course zoom in if he actually needs to. So there's a lot of these little tricks you can get up to, but the usual thing I find with something like Screenleap or stuff is it's not actually lag, it's just the frame rate. You can't match on a screen share the frame rate that you've got in the in-world client. It's just not going to happen. So if it's something that doesn't require a great deal of movement or stuff, it can work fine. But the moment you want something as compelling as the world itself in the client, then that's where we come across the problems, I guess. We have faster and faster bandwidth available in a lot of the world now. It's sort of every year it seems to go up, and some people are behind or whatever. Do you find that people's access to faster broadband and things like that is significantly making life easier for them if they actually do come into Second Life?
Yeah. I mean, we've certainly seen that with as long as Second Life has been around. 17 years ago, cable modems were like all the brand new hotness and stuff, and technology again, over time has improved greatly. And like I can tell you in my own personal situation, in the house that I'm in, we didn't have anything accessible to us except for DSL, like an actually bonded pair DSL. So we at least had that luxury where you could put the two together and get 50 Mbps. Woohoo! We finally just got fiber about 6 months ago.
Oh, wow.
And it's been awesome, right? So the change over time and how ISPs have been able to create larger bandwidth and higher bandwidth connections has certainly helped with Second Life's global reach and accessibility everywhere. I remember being that I've been with the company 13 years now, and having been a resident myself 16 of those years, the very early days, I remember hearing people had accessibility troubles, possibly at the farthest outreaches, right, across the oceans and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that has certainly come back in, I think, over the past decade and gotten much better. I don't hear about those complaints anymore.
Yeah. I think in a way it's some people think of Second Life and it's sort of a close relative open sim, I suppose, as the way things are going now. Not only with Sansar, if Ebbie gets back, we'll mention, but there was High Fidelity that's going its own way. There's one called Science Space, which is still going up there, but I think of Second Life as almost like the golden age of I don't want to say virtual reality anymore, because people think, but it doesn't work in a headset, but it's what I used to think of as virtual world, really. It has endured. I think because you can come in here, for example, all the tools you need to build and create are here in front of you, whether you want to use them or not. Everything happens in real time. So it's just, as long as you have perms, it's easy to just drag a prim down or something, or put up a whiteboard. And that, as you say, has been 17 years. And that stuff, has got better to a certain extent, but it really endures. I'm seeing whole loads of new platforms coming out that think they're totally whiz bang, and they don't have some of this elementary thing aspect to them. I don't know whether Rebbe is back there, but I think possibly one of the things that didn't result in a big rush from Second Life to Sansar was the fact that people couldn't just drop prims. It was in a different kind of platform. But I think Second Life really has endured in this sense. Do you feel there's a long future for it in that regard?
Oh, yeah.
And I've got Ebby.
Yeah, we have an Ebby.
Yes. Okay. Well, I think you heard that, Ebby.
What a long, strange trip that was.
Yeah, a long, strange trip it has been.
I told people inside that I crashed. They looked it up, identified the exact bug. It's some obscure, rare bug, and says, here's a release candidate that has it fixed. I installed this release candidate, and bingo, here I am.
And there you are. Okay, well, I've been exhausting Patch, grilling him.
Yeah, I've barely paid attention because I was debugging and traveling, and
I know.
But here I am. So how can I help?
Some of us are just not good at multitasking, are they? But once we're in, we're fine. Okay, well, we've covered quite a bit to do with Second Life per se, but at the beginning, while I've still got you, I was thinking we should start by just moving away from Second Life and education specific for a short time, and that is look at the case of Sansar, which, of course, you've now confirmed has been sold. I personally don't know anything about the company it's been sold to, so you might help us there. But also, do you feel there's any lessons for Second Life with regard to the Sansar experience? I mentioned with Patch just now that the golden age here is almost like the drag and drop prim. Everything is live. Every aspect of it is live in front of our face, whether we use it or not. And when you were creating worlds like the ones in Sansar, almost to a certain extent, the ones Philip was doing in High Fidelity, and possibly in somewhere like Science Space 2, if you know it, that drag and drop, that immediate sort of thing of, I will dump my prim here, I will dump a screen here, isn't there. It may not be a long job to get it working, but it's still a construction experience rather than doing it on the spot with people around you. So do you think that impacted things?
Think about, as you travel around Second Life, how often do you see people building stuff?
Not that often, actually.
Yeah. So it's actually the use case you're talking about, like, oh, let's right here, build and do something together. It's kind of fairly rare, and it's a little bit like the real world where, most of the time you travel around sort of the created stuff, and every now and then you see some construction workers somewhere.
Yeah.
And most users are not creators or builders, but they're customizers.
Yeah.
Meaning we don't create original assets. So if you think about what you have in your home, what you wear on your body, or even your haircut, someone else did that, not you. And that's kind of how I see at large scale the virtual world being as well, that most of us will acquire or borrow or buy whatever assets, and then we then do layout. We place these objects around us to create an experience that's ours, whether it's a home or what have you. So
exactly, yeah.
And so clearly you want to be able to create, and clearly you want to be able to create collaboratively. The question is a runtime environment and a creator environment, should those be in the same space at the same time? Oh my goodness, felt like my head was falling off there.
Please don't.
No, here I go again. My avatar just likes to lean over. Okay, in Sansar we decided to focus so much on performance, and having a real-time environment where you can edit and update the environment right in front of you.
Yeah.
Sort of is a more complicated process in creating what we call a fully baked runtime optimized world.
Sure.
So Sansar went about it that way to sort of separate the authoring environment from the runtime environment. And every time you basically produced a runtime environment, Sansar would go through a baking process to optimize the crap out of it to get full performance. And that's how Sansar could get the fidelity it did with, 100 avatars running around. And at 90 frames per second, still with fairly decent hardware required, of course. But so that was a design choice we did there, but we never got to the point where we actually enabled, collaborative authoring in the editor. That was still a single. So much.
I clearly. Yeah, I mean, I clearly understand that. It's sort of, as a designer, you go to a shop, you buy stuff. It's the decorating thing. Everybody wants to have a house and decorate it, but not that many people want to build it.
Yeah. No, that's true. And we never got to the phase in Sansar where we really got to call it targeting the customizer. Make it easy for a customizer to go build their home and sort of, create their backyard and whatever world they wanted without having to have a lot of expertise. And that was a future capability we didn't even get to. So I guess to make the long story short about Sansar, we at Linden Lab decided to sell it and give the team a chance to go raise funds and go it alone. I think it's easier for them to go raise money as a separate standalone company,
right?
Rather than as part of Linden Lab. Second Life is a very established, profitable product, and so we kind of had a startup inside of a sort of an established, profitable company, and it was actually easier, I think, for them to raise money as a standalone rather than as part of Linden Lab. So
it's actually staffers from Sansar that are to a great extent behind this. I noticed on your press release said that staffers were moving to the new companies. So
yeah, the staff that worked on Sansar are all getting offers by the new entity to come back and start working on Sansar again, and I think they've started this week. So I'm super happy that the product and the technology and the team all get a chance to continue. We're partners with them because they're using Tilia as a for payments and payouts, just like Second Life users, or just like Second Life is doing, and Tilia will have more and more customers over time. We have several of them lined up to be integrated to get those payment services. And it makes it easier for Linden Lab and for Sansar to both succeed, I think, going forward. So I'm happy the way things ended up in the end.
All right. Coming back to the pardon me, I'm croaking a bit, unfortunately, but coming back to the idea of decorating and building versus. One of the reasons I did bring that up actually is because particularly this is an educators conference, and I'm trying to imagine lecture theatres and classrooms and stuff like that, where you want to decorate a classroom. And you don't necessarily want to build the whole building. You might buy that off the shelf, so to speak. But the whiteboards, the screens, the interactive things within the environment are very much part of the educational environment. So, but when you're putting together a classroom or a university, it's not as simple as just buying stuff off the shelf and decorating a home. On the other hand, it may not be as complex as the actual building.
I think so. I think, I think Second Life is perfect for that sort of iterative, decorating and building and letting students contribute content to the world or to the classroom, if you will. Now, I think there's a lot we can do to make the, I'd say, traditional education experience simpler, whether you talk about blackboards, whiteboards, projection of videos, real-time videos, a bunch of stuff like that is still not super easy or to do in Second Life. I think we could do a lot better there to make that seamless. Where we do have a great advantage is when it's more of experiential education, where you go on a field trip, where you go scuba diving, where you learn economics by buying and selling goods in a market, and sort of kind of more simulations or training stuff. We've seen a lot of nurses being trained in Second Life to like triage patients, and what buttons do I push on this machine, and how do I do things in the right order and sequence. Those things are much better learning experience in a virtual interactive environment than on paper and video. But for just pure presentation of materials, I definitely think we can do better. So it's like the easy stuff we can do better, and the really difficult stuff we do really well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are companies like, companies is not the word, like Imperial College, who are part of the National Health Service here in the UK, in London, where I had a lot of stuff in World here and in OpenSim for that matter. You have virtual replicas of equipment and things like that. Well, particularly at the moment, of course, thinking of respirators or something. If you want, this is an ideal place to train them up. It's not as compelling as the VR helmet sort of thing, which might be super accurate. But, if it's just routines and things that you want to train people for, it's a sort of perfect place to do it. Coming back to this, you may have something in place here already, of which I'm actually unaware of, but I know from previous chats, about Open Simulator and the hypergrid, which connects all those grids together. What happens over there is you have this kind of thing of, you have hidden sims, simulators in some ways, as well as public ones, where you can jump from server to server all over the world, but at the same time there are whole ones that you can't jump to, because a lot of people have made use of the fact that they can lock down simulators there. They can be part of a hypergrid where they can open the gates so their students can go out if necessary, but they're locked down in the sense that the general public can't come in. And there's often a feeling that somewhere like Second Life here is all very, very open. And, do you think that there is a cause need, or also whether it can be done, of course, that if you had an educator here coming in and they wanted to, obviously it's an adult grid here too, the teen grid doesn't still exist. What if they wanted to do a classroom, but they wanted it to be locked down to their students only?
So we have solutions for that. Patch can speak to this. Yeah.
Okay, Patch. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, regions do allow you, some level of privacy inherently. You can create access lists. You can block access to the regions, even a statewide. You can do all sorts of stuff with privacy. You can do all sorts of stuff with registration and bringing accounts directly into your regions and a state where nobody else can get to them. And those accounts can also be locked to those regions and estates so that they cannot leave and go out into Second Life. The siloing capability of Second Life is there. It does exist. A lot of people, may not be aware of it, but we've certainly exposed it. We've given educators the capability to use those tools to be able to do that sort of level of both privacy and customization and account control. And yeah, we do have a good many of those features.
Are there any?
Obviously, we have the privacy controls where you can create private spaces so that random strangers don't walk into your classroom.
Sure.
And like Pat said, you can also specifically create accounts that can only go to the classroom and can't go to other places in the world. So you basically can do. All of these options are available today.
Right. Okay. Is there if people exercise these options, I have to ask the question really: is there an additional financial cost to getting these rights and permissions and having them available, or is it just totally down to once they've got the regions, they can They just
Well,
implement
as of
permissions.
now, if you're an education use case here, then it's still now $99 per region per month, and
Right.
have at it.
S- So once you've got the region, you've got all that facility available if you want a lockdown system, an open system, whatever you want, really.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, people are. I saw some comments about company-owned grids. So that really is. You want to go to the history of Second Life? That was about 10 years ago, and yes, that was a
Yeah, I
distribution
mean,
of Second
having
Life that was on Blade servers. I didn't understand it at the time, but
yeah, what once one yeah, that's but even if in the cloud we I guess could consider in the future, we're currently not considering it,
mm,
is to enable sort of separate grids to be spun up that has completely different user namespaces or different accounts associated with them. But
mm,
historically, we've chosen to basically just have one account user namespace, if you will, so that um, you don't end up with multiple Second Lives. You only have one Second Life, but then you can have control within Second Life for who can go where. Are you okay, Mal?
sorry, I just ran away there to get some glucose. But I'm back with you.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. Um, okay. Let's moving on. Let's have a look at the text here to see if. Is it, here's one. Is it possible to have a database for registering students from a classroom that links them to the SIM and opens their accounts to teachers and students linked to that SIM? I presume this is referring to uh, a back end, a database on the web that then controls in world. I think you've got things like the Pussycats and stuff that already use that kind of system, really.
Well,
Yeah.
if you guys need some use cases that are slightly different, then just reach out to Patch's team, and they can help you guys get the type of onboarding experience you need for yourself and for your students.
Hmm.
Because all the options exist.
Right. Okay. Sorry, I'm distracted by the chats, but I think the feed there has sort of dried up a little bit. It's all gossiping rather than actual questions for us. Right.
And also,
Okay.
obviously, if you have ideas for things that we could do better or that you wish we could do to make your education experience better,
Mm-mm.
then by all means send it to business@lindenlab.com or editor@lindenlab.com, and we'll collect these ideas and see how we can get them placed on the roadmap.
Wonderful. Okay, opening it up a bit. The future of Second Life. I mean, obviously, you brought us all up to date here on everything that's going or whatever. Is there any compelling kind of? Do you have either you personally or the lab itself, I suppose, have a compelling vision for where it's going now, especially as it's more or less a single product again?
Well, like I think Patch already mentioned earlier, we're undertaking a huge project as we speak, which is to move all of the Second Life backend infrastructure from our own proprietary cloud co-location facility
Mm.
and service to AWS and Google clouds, and that's an enormous undertaking. So it's for this year. It's going to take most of our sort of bandwidth and roadmap to do that. We have hopes and expectations for that to generate just by itself meaningful performance improvements for various in various aspects. And then there's even more stuff we can do to fully take advantage of those cloud services once we've transitioned over to it. But the goal is to complete that transition this year, the majority of our engineering and operations resources will be devoted to that task. So there won't be a ton of features for on top of that. There'll be a few goodies along the way, but we're really focused on that move. That sets us up for the very long term. It's a large investment, so if anything, it should give you confidence that we're very much absolutely devoted to the long-term health and success of Second Life. We would never make that transition to the cloud service like that if we didn't have a very long-term perspective on things. So you can expect us to be around for a long time. Where the company is in a very healthy position. We're profitable. We're very, very lucky in this very, very crazy time because we have an organization that is extremely nimble to work with remote people working remotely. So the transition for us to work from our homes. I'm at home. Patch and Brett, they're all at home, and entire organization at home. And we can continue ticking away as usual, except some people have to take care of kids at the same time because we don't have those services available to us. But that we're working on products that are intended for remote use and for people to come together socially and do things without having to get together in physical space. So we're seeing very great traction right now with a big uptick in users and concurrency and registrations. All numbers are up and to the right. So we're in a very healthy place. We're very excited about the future. And
well, looking on the bright side, you actually have a product ready made for these times, don't you? It's although.
We have a more mature virtual world product where users like yourselves can have command and control over the experience you create within it. Whether it's your avatar or the world you create. And how you use it, and there's not a whole lot of those offerings on the market. So we're very pleased with where we are right now. Oz, our VP of engineering, and his team will be on the Lab Gab on Friday, April 3rd. So people that can join the Lab Gab on that date can get more information about sort of if they're interested in the technical details of the infrastructure we're dealing with and our move to the cloud.
Yeah, that's an interesting new show, actually. It's sort of Strawberry and you're on tomorrow, aren't you? So you got another little.
Am I doing it tomorrow again? Maybe, yeah.
I think you may be, yes.
I just do what I'm told. Yeah.
You do it, yeah, I know. All like that. 5-minute reminder.
Brett
Remember,
texted me and says, yes, you are. Yes, no, excellent. Yeah, so, I'm definitely spending much more time now. Now that Sansar has moved on, I'm 100% devoting my time to Second Life and Tilia.
Right, now I think we're pretty much running out of time. I looked half an hour ago and it was plenty of time left, but no longer. Just very quickly, Beth Ghosthaven had a referral from a YouTube chat. Have you thought about creating spaces where educators can create material for students? Think of it like a public park or a public library where no one owns the land, but all benefit from it. I guess she's talking about a Linden-sponsored thing, I suppose, like Linden Endowment for the Arts or something. Any thoughts on like there?
Like a sandbox for educators? Like,
Well, actually,
I'm
it
not
makes it
sure.
sound a bit like that. So I think probably more of a controlled thing where it's,
Yeah, those
a
tend
public
to.
space, that
Yeah,
has an education focus.
yeah, it's kind of funny to get one question is, what can we do to lock everything down? And then next, how can we have a public space where anyone can do anything?
Yes.
Yeah, and Second Life can offer you both of these worlds.
Yeah.
If it's a matter of having a space that's, we pay for, that
Mm.
you and your students can play in. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's an
I think
idea.
it's
I
more.
don't know.
I think what she's getting at, and I'm just guessing here, is more like an educator's pavilion, which is provided almost, a space is provided by the lab, which would be somewhere that people can go to find out about all the various educational things within the world. I mean, obviously, you do have specialist websites and things for this. I think maybe she's just Sal Duarte, I think it is. Maybe a public
Okay,
park.
like
Yeah.
okay, like a welcoming hello. Here's what for educators that.
Mm.
Yeah, it's kind of like a portal for educators or something like that. Yeah,
I think
maybe.
so because you've got things like the non-profit commons for non-profits and stuff, and the difficulty is everybody's got a non-profit or an educational establishment is their own thing. Whereas I think the suggestion is maybe the lab could, bring on small spaces that they pay for themselves that actually act as a promotional region to point people in the right direction.
Yeah, we actually did have something like this a good long while ago. And I'd probably be open to considering again if there's some folks out there who are interested in potentially partnering up with us to put something like that together. I would be interested in talking about it if anybody has any thoughts on doing that. Just give me a buzz and let's sit down and talk about it.
Yeah, or pass your idea again. Pass your ideas to business@lindenlab.com, and we will read everything and consider everything and continue to improve to make
Okay,
this
one more
work
point,
for you.
and right. Okay, just one more point, which again is putting the weight on the lab really. But Bixtel Shufton says we just had a Second Life Norway estate announced that it may be closing down due to the economic effects of Corona. And is the lab considering offering breaks to some sim owners whose real-time income is stopping because of the crisis?
Well, region owners are encouraged to absolutely approach my support team if you find yourself in a situation of difficulty because of what's going on, and specifically for Second Norway, we are working with on that situation, and actually I think we're going to see a really good outcome there. So
lovely. Right.
Yeah, good news.
Okay, yeah, brilliant news. Okay, well, I've looked at the clock now and I feel our time is up. I think we've actually overrun, but there's nobody in the chat to tell me to get off air, so it's up to me. I hope you've enjoyed this session, folks. And I'd like to thank Patch Linden and Debbie Linden for coming here, taking part, bringing us up to date, and answering some of our pertinent questions. So thank you guys, both of you. And I guess we'll be hearing more next year, but plenty going on in the meantime too. So thank you very much for being here.
Don't be strangers. Let's talk before next year. So,
yeah, exactly.
Pleasure to be here, and keep telling us what you want and need and hope for, and we'll listen. And have a great day. And maybe some of you will join us for Lab Gab tomorrow, and we'll continue the conversation. Cheers, everybody.
Wonderful.
Yep. Thanks for having me.